Let me tell you something the way Steve Harvey would say it. When you stop reaching out, when you don't send that good morning text, when you don't check in like you used to, you might think it's small. You might think it's just silence. But to a man, that silence is not empty. It is loud. And what happens in his mind when you pull back is deeper than you think. A man gets used to patterns. He gets used to knowing that when he wakes up, there's a message from you. He gets used to knowing that when his day is long, you'll ask how it went. He gets used to knowing that no matter what, you're there. And when that pattern changes, his mind doesn't ignore it. His mind goes to work. At first, he tells himself it's nothing. He says she's busy, says she's probably tired. He tries to stay cool. But the longer that silence stretches, the louder it becomes in his head. Because consistency builds comfort, and once that comfort shifts, uncertainty steps in. And uncertainty is uncomfortable for a man. See, when you were always reaching out, he felt secure. He didn't have to question where he stood. He didn't have to wonder if you cared. Your effort made him feel chosen. But when that effort stops, even slightly, his security gets shaken. And when a man's security is shaken, his mind starts replaying everything. He begins thinking about the last conversation. Did I say something wrong? Was she upset and I didn't notice? Did I take too long to respond? Is she talking to someone else now? These questions don't always come from insecurity. They come from awareness. Because your silence forces him to notice your presence in a way he may not have before. When you are always there, he can get comfortable. And comfort can sometimes lead to complacency. Not because he doesn't care, but because he feels safe. He feels like you're not going anywhere. But the moment you stop reaching out, the possibility of losing you enters his mind. And that possibility changes everything. A man is wired to respond to what he might lose. When something feels guaranteed, he relaxes. When something feels uncertain, he becomes alert. Your silence creates alertness. He starts checking his phone more. He opens your chat. He scrolls up to reread messages. He wonders why you haven't texted. And even if he doesn't admit it out loud, he feels it. There's a battle that happens inside him. His ego says, don't reach out first, let her text. His pride says, if she wanted to talk, she would. But his emotions say, I miss her. And now he's stuck between pride and desire. That internal conflict is real. He may type your name into his messages. He may write something simple like, hey, then he stares at it. Then he deletes it. Because reaching out feels vulnerable. It means admitting he noticed your absence. It means admitting he values your attention. And vulnerability is not always easy for men. But here's the powerful part about silence. Silence creates reflection. When you stop filling the space, he has space to think. And thinking leads to awareness. He becomes more aware of what you brought into his life. The laughter, the consistency, the encouragement, the emotional support. Add those little things that felt normal when you were doing them now feel missing. He may not have consciously appreciated every message you sent, every time you checked in, every time you showed interest. But once those things are gone, he feels the difference. And feeling the difference forces him to evaluate. If his feelings are real, your silence becomes motivation. He starts thinking, I need to call her, I need to see her. I need to make sure she's good. Because he understands that if he doesn't act, someone else might. And a man who truly values you will not let silence stretch too long. But if his interest was shallow, your silence will reveal that too. Because reflection only matters if there was something meaningful to reflect on. If he was just enjoying convenience, he may not feel urgency. And that's information for you. That's clarity. Silence is not about playing games. It's about balance. It's about stepping back enough to see who steps forward. When you constantly reach out, you remove the need for him to initiate. When you pull back, you give him the opportunity to show intention. A man who cares will not stay silent forever. He might hesitate. He might wait a little. But eventually he will reach out because his mind will keep reminding him of what he could lose. And the fear of losing something valuable is stronger than the fear of looking vulnerable. Inside his mind, he may even start romanticizing you more. He may remember your smile more vividly. He may think about the last time you laughed together. He may imagine you moving on. And that image alone can push him into action. Your silence forces him to confront his feelings without distraction. There's no constant reassurance from you, no easy validation, just space. And in that space, the truth rises. If he reaches out with more effort, more intention, more clarity, then your silence did not push him away. It woke him up. But if he lets the silence grow and does nothing, then he was never fully invested. And that realization, though painful, protects you. So when you don't reach out, understand this. Something is happening in his mind. Reflection is happening. Evaluation is happening. Emotion is fighting pride. And sooner or later, he makes a decision. Let me talk to you the way Steve Harvey would break it down plain, honest, and real. When you stop reaching out, when you don't send that text, when you don't double message, when you let the phone sit still, you think it's just silence. But inside his mind, there's movement, there's calculation, there's emotion, and most importantly, there's exposure. When you were the one initiating, checking in, asking about his day, making plans, you were carrying emotional energy in that connection. Energy creates momentum, and when that momentum suddenly slows down, he feels the shift immediately. Even if he doesn't say it, even if he pretends not to notice, he notices. At first, he tries to maintain control. He tells himself you'll text eventually. He assumes you're just busy. But when hours turn into a full day and that day turns into more time than he's used to, something changes. He starts wondering why the dynamic shifted. And here's what that wondering does. It forces him to measure how much he cares. If he was emotionally invested, your silence makes him uncomfortable. Not angry, not annoyed, uncomfortable. Because when a man cares, he values access. Access to your attention, access to your time, access to your affection. And when that access feels limited, he begins to recognize how important it was. He may try to distract himself. He may tell himself he's overthinking. But your absence lingers in the background of his mind. He checks his phone more often than he wants to admit. He reopens your conversation. He notices you haven't watched his story. He starts looking for signs. And here's the thing men respond to perceived loss. When something feels guaranteed, effort can drop. Not because he doesn't care, but because comfort can reduce urgency. But when something feels uncertain, urgency rises. That's when a man's real level of investment shows up. If he values you, your silence becomes a wake-up call. He starts thinking about whether he's been doing enough. He asks himself, if he's been consistent, he might even realize he relied too much on you initiating. And that realization can push him to step up. But if his feelings were shallow, your silence won't disturb his peace. It won't create urgency. It won't create reflection. And that right there is the truth you need. Because your absence doesn't create feelings, it reveals them. See, when you stop reaching out, you're not manipulating. You're observing. You're giving space for him to either fill the gap or let it widen. And what he chooses to do with that space tells you everything about his level of investment. His ego says, don't text her first. His pride says if she wanted to talk, she would. His ego wants to maintain control. It wants to feel like he's not the one chasing. But his emotions are not as calm. His emotions are asking, why hasn't she reached out? Is she losing interest? Is she pulling away? Men don't always process emotions the way women do. They may not talk about it with their friends. They may not analyze it out loud, but they feel it internally. When you create silence, you remove reassurance. And without reassurance, he has to sit with his own thoughts. He might start replaying moments between you. The way you laughed, the way you supported him, the way you showed up consistently. He begins to connect dots he ignored before. Because when you were always present, he didn't have to imagine life without you. Now he does. His ego tries to protect him. It tells him to wait. It tells him not to look desperate. It tells him that if you care, you'll text first. But his emotions challenge that because emotions don't like uncertainty. Emotions crave connection. That's why he may type a message and delete it. That's why he may open your profile and close it. That's why he may hesitate but still think about you repeatedly throughout the day. He is wrestling with vulnerability. Reaching out means admitting he noticed your absence. It means admitting he values your presence. And that requires emotional courage. Not every man has that immediately. Some need time to override their pride. you must understand something important. Silence is not about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about stepping back enough to see if he steps forward. When you constantly reach out, you remove the need for him to confront his feelings. When you pull back, you force clarity. Inside his mind, he is calculating risk. If I don't text her, will she move on? If I wait too long, will I lose her? If I reach out now, will I look weak? These thoughts don't always show on his face, but they exist. So when you don't reach out, remember this: you are not losing power. You are revealing truth. You are giving him space to show effort without being prompted. You are allowing his investment to surface naturally. Let's talk about what really happens in a man's mind when you stop reaching out. And I'm going to say this in the straightforward, no-nonsense tone that Steve Harvey is known for. Because when a woman pulls back, when she decides not to text first, not to check in, not to keep the conversation alive, something shifts internally for a man. It may not show on his face. He may act unbothered, but inside there is movement. One of the biggest things happening in his mind is the battle between ego and emotion. A man's ego is strong. It protects him from rejection. It protects him from looking vulnerable. It tells him, stay cool, don't chase, don't look needy. So when he notices you haven't reached out, his ego immediately tries to take control of the situation. It tells him that if you wanted to talk, you would. It convinces him to wait. It reminds him not to be the first one to fold. But emotions don't follow ego's rules. Emotions are quieter, but they're persistent. His emotions start asking questions. Why hasn't she texted? Is she okay? Did I mess up? Is she losing interest? These thoughts don't always come with panic. Sometimes they come slowly, like a drip of awareness that won't go away. Now he's in a mental tug of war. His ego wants him to hold his ground. His emotions want connection. His ego says, if you text her now, she'll think she has control. His emotions say you miss her, and that internal conflict creates tension. You might not see it, but he feels it when he picks up his phone and sees no notification from you. He feels it when he opens social media and notices you haven't interacted with him. He may even type a message and erase it more than once. That delete button becomes part of the struggle because pressing send means stepping into vulnerability. And vulnerability is hard for a lot of men. It means admitting he noticed your absence. It means admitting he values your attention. It means risking that you might not respond the way you used to. So he hesitates. But if his feelings are strong, emotion eventually grows louder than ego. He starts realizing that protecting his pride isn't worth losing the connection. And when that realization hits, he acts, not because he wants to lose a power game, but because he doesn't want to lose you. Now let's talk about something even deeper. When you stop reaching out, it forces him to confront how much you mattered in his daily life. When you were consistently present, he didn't have to think about it. You were part of his routine. A message here, a call there, a check-in during lunch. It felt natural. He may be going through his day and instinctively reach for his phone to tell you something funny that happened. Then he remembers you haven't been talking. That pause hits him. He might notice the evenings feel quieter. He might feel a small emptiness where your attention used to be. Silence creates space for thought. And in that space, he starts replaying moments. Conversations, jokes, memories. He starts realizing how much emotional support you gave him. Maybe you encouraged him more than he acknowledged. Maybe you listened more than anyone else did. Maybe you showed consistency he took for granted. When something is always there, it can blend into the background. But when it's removed, its importance becomes obvious. He starts measuring what he lost, and that measurement is powerful. Because now he's not just reacting to silence, he's evaluating your worth in his life. He may start wondering if someone else is giving you attention. That thought alone can spark urgency. Men are competitive by nature. The idea that another man could step into the space he left open can create a strong emotional reaction. It pushes him to decide whether he's going to claim his position or surrender it. If he truly values you, the combination of reflection and emotional discomfort will push him toward action. He will reach out. He will find a reason. He will reestablish connection. It may not be dramatic. It may be simple. But it will happen because he doesn't want the silence to become permanent. If he doesn't reach out, that tells you something just as important. It tells you that his ego wasn't fighting very hard. It tells you the emotional pull wasn't strong enough to override pride. And while that truth may sting, it saves you time and energy. Silence is not about manipulation. It is about clarity. When you step back, you allow his mind to operate without constant reassurance. You allow his feelings to surface naturally. You give him the opportunity to show initiative. A man who sees a future with you will not sit comfortably in prolonged silence. It will disturb him. It will make him restless. He may try to act calm, but internally he will be thinking. He will be weighing his options. He will be asking himself if he's ready to lose access to you. That choice is shaped by how deeply he feels and how much he's willing to risk his pride. And that's why your silence is powerful, not because it controls him, but because it reveals him. When you don't reach out, you create a moment where he has to decide if he will step forward on his own. You stop carrying the emotional weight alone. You stop proving your interest repeatedly. You allow him to show his, and in that quiet space, while you may think nothing is happening, his mind is active. His ego is negotiating. His emotions are surfacing. His memories are replaying. His fears of losing you are whispering. Let me say this in a way that feels real, direct, and honest, just like Steve Harvey would. When you stop reaching out, when you decide to lean back instead of leaning in, you may think you're just being quiet. But in his mind, something serious begins to unfold. Silence is never just silence in a connection that had rhythm. It is a signal, and signals trigger thought. The first thing that happens is evaluation. A man begins to assess the situation. He notices the pattern break. You used to text in the morning. You used to check in at night. You used to send something random during the day. And now there's nothing. That disruption forces his brain to pay attention. Human beings are wired to notice change, especially when the change affects their comfort. At first, he may try to brush it off. He may tell himself it's temporary. But as time stretches, his mind starts calculating. Is she pulling away? Is she upset? Did I do something? This is not always panic. Sometimes it's subtle, but it's there. He starts reviewing recent conversations. He looks for clues. He replays moments because now he has space to think. When you were always there, he didn't have to measure your value consciously. Your presence felt natural. But when that presence becomes absence, he feels the difference. And that difference forces him to evaluate how much you actually matter in his daily emotional life. Then comes questioning. This is deeper than evaluation. This is internal interrogation. He begins asking himself what he really wants. If he saw you as casual, your silence might not disturb him much. But if he had emotional attachment, your absence starts pressing on him. He wonders if you're talking to someone else. He imagines you laughing with another man. That thought alone can create discomfort he wasn't prepared for. Men don't always express jealousy openly, but internally, competition is real. The idea that someone else could replace him activates something instinctive. It pushes him to consider whether he has been doing enough. It forces him to confront whether he has been taking you for granted. This is where ego enters the picture. His pride steps in and says, don't react too quickly. Ego wants control. Ego wants to feel chosen, not like the one chasing. So he hesitates. He may wait to see if you break first. He may convince himself to stay still. But underneath that pride, there's emotion. And emotion doesn't like uncertainty. Emotion wants reassurance. Emotion wants connection restored. That tension between ego and emotion creates mental noise. He might check his phone repeatedly. He might open your chat without typing. He might start small conversations in his head about what he would say if he reached out. Now let's talk about missing. This is the part many women underestimate. When you stop reaching out, you remove consistent access, and access is powerful. If he was used to hearing from you daily, your silence creates a noticeable gap. He might not admit he misses you immediately, but missing often starts quietly. He may reach for his phone to tell you something funny and then remember you haven't been talking. He may scroll through old messages. He may think about the last time you were together. Memory becomes sharper when current interaction disappears.